Hey y'all, I'm Cat, and today I will be doing a Skyrim Skills tier list. Y'all ready? Let's go. I wanted to take a second to remind everyone that these are my opinions and not the law, so if you feel differently, please leave a comment. I base my ranks on the mechanics of leveling. Some skills are more interesting when they're harder to level, and then with some skills, the ease of leveling is convenient. It just depends on the skill. Next, I considered the availability of trainers and training locations. Probably the most important was how fun a skill is to level, and then the necessity, how useful the skill is, and then also the perks, and then for the magic skills, the spells. Alright, so Alteration. My favorite perks in Alteration are the magic resistance and then the spell absorption from the Archanach perk. It keeps you very defended against magic users in the game, especially mages and dragons. So I think it's a very good perk to have, even if you're not a magic user, just to level Alteration just for the sake of having those perks. I also think that Transmute Ore is a really good spell in Alteration. It's a great way to get gold really fast. In terms of trainers, you have Tolthir, but then you have to join the college, and I think y'all know by now how I feel about the college. I'm not too fond of the College of Winterhold. I think it could have been better. So I don't really like the idea of having to go through the college to get to Tolthir, so he's not really an option. Then you have Dravinia. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name right. I'm not sure if I'm ever pronouncing her name right. She is in Kynesgrove, and you can actually marry her and then bring her to your home and level more conveniently that way. My favorite ways to train Alteration is with the Transmute Ore. I just wait an hour and then just cast it repeatedly to level it and, make some money. You can also go get the Secret of Arcana and then fast travel across the map, and you'll get to level 100 Alteration instantly. Oh, and another one I've tried that y'all might not have guessed that I've tried because of some of the issues I have with water in video games is casting water breathing in water. But the reason why I'm okay with it is because the water has to be deep enough that you could dive in, but you can actually stand on the shallow end of it and just stand up and cast it and it will still work. So you don't actually have to be submerged in the water. But there are a few things about Alteration that I don't really like. I'm not a huge fan of Candlelight or Mage Light, but that's probably because I often play as a Khajiit and I don't really need them. I can normally see fine. I do find Alteration very useful, especially in terms of the perks I talked about earlier with the magic absorption and the magic resistance, but I don't really have that much fun with the spells as I do with the other schools of magic. But then again, I can't ignore the fact that magic resistance and spell absorption is incredibly useful. So I'm going to go ahead and put Alteration in the A tier. All right, so Enchanting. I've got one word, money. And the exploits in Enchanting can basically make you a god. I've showed y'all this before. It's something that Robbo taught me, and it's just the loop between alchemy, enchanting, and smithing is pretty well known, and it can make you very rich and able to level all of those skills very quickly. My favorite perks are the Frost, Fire, and Storm enchantments. I also like Insightful Enchanter. It makes enchantments on armor stronger. Corpus Enchanter for health, magic, and stamina. The Extra Effect. Yes, the Extra Effect is one of my favorites. That's 2 enchantments on 1 item. And then also Soul Squeezer, Soul Siphon. All of these are very good. And the leveling is so easy with enchantment, you don't really need trainers. My favorite way to level Enchanting is by enchanting Iron Daggers with either Absorb Health or Stamina, and then later with Banish. I wish you could add the second enchanter later instead of when you create the item. I wish that you could just enchant it with whatever enchantment you want and then later decide that you want a second one and enchant it then. The way that it is now, you have to enchant it both at the same time when you make the item. But that's minor compared to the overall usefulness of Enchanting. So I went ahead and put Enchanting in the S tier. Okay, Conjuration. Raising the Dead is a fun time. So my favorite perks are Soul Stealer, great for enchanting and money making. I also like Twin Souls. You can summon 2 Archanaches or zombies at the same time. My favorite spells are the bound weapons, so the bound bow, the bound sword, especially the bound bow because you never run out of arrows. I do like Summon Daedric Hoss. That is something that they added with the Creation Club stuff that they put in the Anniversary Edition. I like Revenant. I like summoning spells like the Flame Thrall, the Conjure the Foul Zombie. And one trainer that I really like is Talvis, who lives in the mushrooms in Solstein, because you can use him with the Follower exploit, where you can take the gold bath that you gave him to train. One of my favorite ways to train Conjuration is to soul trap a body. Normally I'll end up soul trapping the guys that Mirac sends after me, but I've heard that if you soul trap a body near the magic well in the college, then you'll gain magic regeneration as you stand near the well. I don't think that that's terribly necessary because you can just use the wait function to have your magic instantly regenerate when it's low. Things I don't like is you can't reanimate a headless guy. And, you know, headless guys don't moan, so... Look, I get it. You want to do a little moaning. But can we do that in the privacy of our own homes? And not out here by me? Also, the Follower exploit on Talvis, I don't think it works if he's away from Solstein. I've tried it, and it's never worked for me. If anybody has had a different experience in the comments, let me know. Maybe it was just a glitch, and I just forever believed that it was the case and just never trained with him outside of Solstein again. But yeah, Conjuration's pretty fun. I don't often play Necromancer type characters very much, so for me, it's not really very useful for the majority of the characters that I create. But I do think it is still very fun when I have done playthroughs with Conjuration. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in the B tier. Okay, let's talk about Illusion. Illusion is very effective for most of my builds. It's great for characters like assassins and thieves. Of course, it's not necessary, but it helps. You have the quiet casting perk and spells like Muffle and Invisibility. I've played plenty of stealth characters without it, but when I have played stealth characters with it, it's been highly effective. It's very effective if you have a pacifist build because you can use Rally and Pacify and have the enemies fight each other. Trainers are very irritating to get if you like using them. You have Atab. He's in an orc settlement, and I hate going to those. I only ever find them by accident. Dryvis, he's in the college, and of course, the college, you know. But of course, leveling is easy because you can just keep casting Muffle, and it's a pretty low level spell, so you can cast it fairly continuously without having to use the wait function. Many enemies that are just straight up immune to most illusion spells. Dragons are one of them. Vampires are immune to most of them. Falmer, I think, are immune to a few. And then quiet casting, this had me on the fence for a while, but quiet casting actually works on shouts, which is convenient, but also very unimmersive. Kind of defeats like the whole purpose of calling them shouts if you can whisper them. Yeah, I wouldn't say illusion is a waste of time. Certainly not. I think it can be really good for certain characters, so I'm definitely not going to put it in the lowest tier, but for me, I feel like illusion belongs in the C tier. Alright, destruction. Probably my favorite area of magic. It suits my personality. It's like me liking rocket launchers and tanks and Halo, you know? It's very fun to use. My favorite perks are Disintegration and Deep Freeze. I love Strangulation, which I think is a new spell. Flames, Runes, the Flame Cloak. I like that the intensity is based on the spells and not the leveling. So you can find a super powerful spell early in the game. It can be very effective against more powerful enemies, you know, if you have the magicka to cast it. Trainers are pretty easy to access if you want them. You have like the Mage and Windhelm. You have like Sibolt and Solitude. You know, they're just like right there. You have one irritating one, Ferelda, who's at the college. I haven't tried this, but maybe you can level with Ferelda before entering the college because she's literally like standing at the gate. My favorite way to level Destruction is just to use it. I don't really have a quick level way of leveling Destruction, but I suppose you could use it on Roloff or Hadvir at the beginning of the game because you get flames. But because destruction is super fun, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in A tier. Ah, Restoration, one of the most underappreciated schools of magic. I find it to be a perfectly valid school of magic. It's very useful. My favorite perks are Recovery. I like Avoid Death. Respite, where your healing can also cure your stamina. My favorite spells are Fast Healing, Healing Hands, and Poison Rune. There are a good amount of trainers for Restoration. I think Restoration might have the most trainers in the game, if I'm not mistaken. My favorite way to level, though, is to cast healing spells when standing on like a fire trap. And then I'll use the wait function to wait an hour, regenerate my magicka, and do it again. Despite its usefulness, the only truly fun spell is Poison Rune.
Nothing. Like the bite of a flea. I'll try and make this quick. Gods, no! Have you? You've already lost.
Still though, Restoration is a very useful school of magic, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in the A tier. Let's get into some combat skills, shall we? Let's talk about Block. Block is useful and it's pretty fun. My favorite perks would be Deflect Arrows, Elemental Protection, Power Bash, Deadly Bash, Disarming Bash. Just all the bashes. Leveling's pretty easy for Block. You can pretty much do all your leveling outside of Whiterun. And then Nyjah can be exploited if you complete the Companion's questline. So you can take the gold back from her as you train with her. So I would put Block in the B tier. One-handed is fun and very useful. I don't think you can really argue with that. My favorite perks would be Fighting Stance, Savage Strike, because I mean, you gotta love a chance to decapitate your enemies, right? Also like Paralyzing Strike, because you get a chance to paralyze your target. And ATS can be exploited if you finish the companions. Leveling's easy, you just hit a lot of things. But if you wanted an exploit, you could just slash at Hadvir or roll off at the beginning of the game. I am putting one-handed in A tier. Okay, let's talk about two-handed. The major criticism I have about two-handed is that it's not one-handed. It's not as fun for me as one-handed. You swing a bit slower. You can't put fire in one hand or a shield. There are some perks I like though. I like Champion Stance, where your power attacks cost less stamina. I like the Devastating Blow, because, you know, decapitation. I like Sweep because you can hit multiple enemies at a time when you do a sideways swing. I like a War Master, because you get a chance to paralyze. So you got Vilcus, which once again can be exploited if you finish the Companion's questline. So finishing the Companion's questline is pretty advantageous for most of your combat skills, because there's a lot of trainers over there that can be exploited. You can save a lot of money if you wanted to train the skills. Two-handed has its benefits, but they are not very different from the benefits of one-handed. And although two-handed is more powerful, I personally don't like the feel of two-handed weapons, and I don't like that they take up two hands, which could have otherwise been used for like spell casting or a shield. So it just kind of limits your ability to level two things at once. So for me, it deserves a spot in the B tier. Some people are going to be mad at me for this one, but we're going to talk about heavy armor now. Okay, so first of all, I'm sorry. Second, I find armor skill trees to be kind of unimmersive. And I'm not just picking on Skyrim here, because all the Elder Scrolls games have this, I believe, where you level armor. But I feel like armor ratings should only be available through external means, like upgrading at the blacksmith or buying or finding better armor. How is getting beat up while I'm wearing the armor helping me to wear it better? That said, I do like some of the perks. I do like Fist of Steel, where the unarmed attacks do more damage. I like Cushioned, of course, because, you know, I climb a lot of mountains in Skyrim. Tower of Strength, where you stagger less when you're wearing it. There are also perks that I like because they're convenient, but thinking about them breaks my immersion, like Conditioning, where heavy armor weighs nothing. Well Fitted, where, you know, you have an armor bonus for wearing all heavy armor. I don't get that. And then the matching set is even more confusing, because you get an armor bonus just because you have the same kind of armor on all over your body. Like, I don't get how that makes any sense. And there are obviously perks that make sense, but I feel should be automatic when you put the armor on, like Conditioned. That should be an improvement to your armor, like that you could do at the blacksmith shop, not a skill that goes with you from armor to armor. Same thing with heavy armor gauntlets. They should just do more damage automatically, because the armor itself is doing the damage, you know? And of course, yeah, your fists do a certain amount of damage when it comes to that, but put a pin in that, because we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. Don't worry, we're going to get to that. Perks that just make sense are Tower of Strength. So in my imaginings, not being trained in any kind of armor use, by the way, so maybe I am speaking out of turn, but training in heavy armor would probably help you get used to the armor and cause you to stagger less. So I think that one makes sense. That an enemy could hit you and train that skill, that makes sense. But to me, that's the only one that really makes sense. The trainers are unimmersive, because how do you train someone on how to wear something, unless you're talking about Tower of Strength? Other than that, how are you training someone to wear something better? And then to wear it better, you have to take damage. Go ahead and disagree with me in the comments. I'd love to hear y'all takes on this, because I know that my take on heavy armor is pretty poor. But for now, I'm going to have to go ahead and put heavy armor in the D tier. Since we talked about heavy armor, we got to pick on light armor now. Once again, same issues as heavy armor. The perks are good, but they're illogical. You have stuff like Custom Fit, where you get a bonus just for wearing all light armor. Matching Set, wearing the same kind of light armor, you get a bonus. And then the Unhindered, light armor weighs nothing. Like, the concept of weighing nothing is my problem. That it might be lighter, like, as you wear it and get stronger, maybe makes sense. But the fact that it weighs nothing, it will never weigh nothing. But maybe 1% of your weight carry, but not the whole, not just completely nothing. And then of course, once again, I feel like the perks, some of them make sense, but I feel like they should be applied to the armor and not the person. Like Delph Movement, that should maybe be applied more as the armor is lighter. You know, like the lighter armor, the more chance of avoiding a hit, because you can move quicker in lighter armor. You know, Wind Walker is another one with the stamina regeneration when wearing light armor. I feel like that should be automatic too, because I feel like light armor would automatically make it less of a burden on your stamina. So I feel like that should just come with the armor. Like when you're putting on light armor, you should just have better stamina regen than when you're putting on heavy armor. So yeah, I mean, I gotta do it. I gotta do it, y'all. All right, let's talk about smithing. I am so sorry. Smithing is useful. I just find it to be boring. My favorite perk is Arcane Blacksmith, because it allows you to smith enchanted weapons and armor. The other perks are useful, of course, but they just unlock the ability to work with certain armor types. The things I like are that armor and weapon improving are good for money making. And then smithing works really well when it's paired with something like enchanting or transmute ore. You have a pretty good lineup of trainers with smithing, but you really don't need them. In fact, Gunmer I almost never even bother with because he's the Dawn Guard and you actually have to like go get him, you know, before you can even use him anyway. You can't just show up at Dawn Guard. There's like a separate quest where you have to go get him. So I would just not even bother with him if you're leveling through trainers. My favorite method is to just like make a bunch of rings or a bunch of iron daggers. It's relatively cheap and it's pretty fast and it's pretty boring. One thing, you know, that I've learned playing Arena, Daggerfall, and now Merwin is that I really like this one component. Now I know nobody likes when their weapons or armor breaks, but I actually think that repairing weapons and armor added a nice little layer of complexity and immersion to the games, and I want it back. I really want it back. And I really hope that Elder Scrolls 6, like, they think about including it. I mean, we won't be getting Elder Scrolls 6 until I'm like, you know, 50. But when we do get it, I really would like them to put repairing armor and weapons back in the game. Maybe at least make it an option. Like, you can turn it on or off if you want. Maybe, like, I don't know. I kind of like it just being in the game. I'm trying to give some concessions to people who might not like that, but I personally would love that. So as it is, though, I'm putting smithing in the D tier. It's useful, but it's so boring. And I just feel like it could be better. All right, if y'all weren't mad at me before, you're gonna be mad at me now. So first off, Alchemy, obviously, is very, very useful in money making in the game. My favorite perks are Green Thumb, because you get 2 ingredients per pick. Snake Blood, because you're resistant to all poisons. Concentrated Poison, because when you apply the poison to weapons, it lasts for more than 1 hit, which is nice. My favorite potion, y'all all know, is Scaly Mushrooms, Mora Tapanella, and Creep Cluster. It's the strongest growable potion in the game. And then also Creation Club added new ingredients to explore, which makes alchemy more interesting. But there's a reason why I'm about to do what I'm about to do, and we're going to talk about it real quick. I just think that alchemy could be tremendously improved. I want to name my potions like I can in Merwin. I just find so much convenience in naming my potions, and obviously, like, if I'm going to craft the potion, I feel like I should get to name it, you know? I think the main problem with alchemy is that outside of health, magicka, and stamina potions, alchemy's primary use in most of my playthroughs is to make money. And while that's a huge benefit, I do wish alchemy was more interesting and more immersed into the gameplay in better ways. I think a big reason why I don't use alchemy outside of these things is that alchemy doesn't feel like a unique experience to me. For example, I'm playing The Witcher right now, and potions in that game are just so much more unique. There's a potion that makes your blood poisonous to certain monsters when they bite you, and something similar could be used against vampires in Skyrim, like using a rare plant that vampires are allergic to. In The Witcher, there's also like a potion that boosts reflexes so that you can dodge attacks better, which makes sense for, like, say, an alchemist build to find necessary, since most of their training would be in alchemy and less in skills that would, like, boost that naturally. So I just think things like that would make more sense. And I'm sure that there are more things that could be improved upon in alchemy. Those are just a few of the things that I could think of. When I play it, I do get the sense like there could be more here. So yes, I'm acknowledging that it's great for money making. It's very useful, but I also think it doesn't deserve to be an S tier or A tier because I feel like it could be so drastically improved upon. So I am going to go ahead and put alchemy in the B tier. Yep. Lockpicking. You'll already know how I feel about lockpicking. I have no patience for it. So I have a bias. I apologize for my bias, but this is very personal. Okay? I am not a fan of lockpicking, but the skill tree does make locking easy if you have patience, which I do not. So my favorite perks, of course, are Quick Hands, because I can lockpick without being noticed, Golden Touch, because I can find more gold, and Treasure Hunter, because, you know, you can find unique treasure, unbreakable because the lockpicks never break, which is great. I wish that that was a perk you could get earlier in the skill tree because I just outbreak so many lockpicks. I need to get the skeleton key every time, but it's such a long and arduous journey to it that I don't always do that. So for training, if you want to go that route, there is a Khajiit, but you have to track down the Khajiit caravans to get to him. And then there's Vex in the Thieves Guild, you know, but you gotta make it through the rat way to get to her. My favorite way to level lockpicking, if you can even say that there is a way in which I like to level lockpicking, I guess would be to use the skeleton key. And y'all know how I feel about the skeleton key. I feel like the skeleton key has finite use because once you get the unbreakable lockpick perk, you don't need it anymore. But then again, maybe you save your perks, right? I've played it this way before, and I think I've changed my opinion on the skeleton key because of this. Because I realized, you know what? If I've got the skeleton key, there's not too much of a point in me getting anything beyond quick hands in the lockpicking skill tree. You know, I could just use the skeleton key. Yeah, sure, I'm gonna make more mistakes because I won't have the perks that make different locks easier to pick, but I have an unbreakable lockpick. I don't know why I never thought of it that way before, but I'm thinking of it that way now because I've played a few playthroughs where I just kept the skeleton key just indefinitely and just never returned it. Of course, that means you can never finish the Thieves Guild quest line, but honestly, I'm like, man, just having the skeleton key just indefinitely is probably the way to go for most thief builds, and just for me in general. But y'all know I don't like lockpicking, so y'all know where this is going. People will still be upset with me, even though it's not in the D tier, but there it is in the C tier. Get mad in the comments. Okay, if you're still hanging in with me after that, we can talk about speech. Oh man, I'm just making enemies now. Speech? I'm so sorry. It's very boring. It's boring. You just sell stuff, and there's no bartering like there was in Merlin. My favorite perks. Merchant, because you can sell any item to any merchant, and I like that. I hate having to go to certain merchants for certain stuff. It's immersive, yeah, but I hate it. Fence, because I can sell my stolen stuff, and y'all know I steal a lot of stuff in Skyrim, so that's very helpful. Bribery, because I can bribe guards because I steal so much stuff and sometimes get caught. I also like the persuasion perk because I can persuade people to ignore my crimes, which is nice. There is one perk where I'm conflicted, so let's talk about that real quick. I like Allure, but I feel like it should be effective on everyone. Allure is the perk where you get a 10%, I believe it's 10%, a 10% bonus if you're the opposite sex of the merchant. I just feel like that should just work on everyone, you know? Like, it shouldn't matter the sex of the merchant. I feel like if you're alluring to everyone, so you should just be alluring. I think that that's the way that should be, so I'm conflicted. But I do like Allure. I just think it should work on everyone. I think it should just be a 10% bonus for Allure. Trainers if you want to. Not the easiest to find. You got the Khajiit with the Khajiit caravans. You got Sedri from Sedri's Used Wares. He's easy to find. I think he's only a common trainer, though. There's a trainer in Markarth, isn't there? Yeah, there is. There's a trainer in Markarth who's not too difficult to find. But then you have the one in the Vampire Keep. You know, he's terribly difficult to get to. I'd only use him if you were going to go through that quest anyway. And then the Bard's College, I just don't even like their quest line. So, there's that. Ay. I'm sorry. How would I fix speech? I'd bring barter back. I'd bring barter back, and I'd love it. I want to barter. I think it's not so great that they took it out of the game, and I want it back. So the way that speech is, as is, I'm gonna have to put it in the D tier. There it goes, in the D tier. Fight about it in the comments. Or just fight me about it in the comments, I guess. I might be the only one saying it. Me and my bad opinions, you know? Okay, let's see if I can recoup my losses and then get some people on my side now. Phew, pickpocket. I love pickpocketing. Pickpocketing to me is so fun. There is a part of pickpocketing that's broken in the game. I believe if you take a potion of pickpocketing, it actually makes pickpocketing impossible, or like nearly impossible. Because I've tried it and it doesn't work. I've just stopped taking potions for it because it backfires on me. My favorite perks are Keymaster, where pickpocketing keys almost always works. There are a lot of quests where that's very helpful. Misdirection, because I can pickpocket equipped weapons with that, and that's funny. And Perfect Touch, because you can pickpocket equipped items like armor. And I like Poisoned, because you can put poison in people's pockets. Some of the trainers are Silda, she's the beggar in Windhelm, and Viper the Fleet, he's in the Thieves Guild. But my favorite way to level is just to steal stuff. I just like stealing things. And, and Rare Curios from the Anniversary Edition Creation Club stuff, it added poisoned apples, so that makes it even more fun. Alright, so I would put pickpocketing in the A tier. Okay, this is going to be an up and down roller coaster of emotions. I'm about to make you mad again. I'm really conflicted with Sneak. Sneak is so fun and funny, but it's also so broken. You're practically invisible if you get all the perks.
Where are you?
My favorite perks though are Backstab, Deadly Aim, Assassin's Blade, Silent Roll. Silent Roll is so cool looking. There's some perks I'm conflicted about though. There's Lightfoot, which, you know, that's, you can't activate a pressure plate, is unimmersive. It's as if you weigh nothing. And second, you can be a lot less careful, but it's more difficult to use traps against enemies unless they trigger them themselves. But Sneak is fun, so even though it's broken, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in B tier. B for broken. B for broken, but also badass. Last, but certainly not least, we have Archery. Oh, I'm so glad we're ending it on a good note. I don't think this is surprising to anybody. Like anybody here. I don't think this is surprising. I think y'all already knew what I was gonna say about this. Archery is very, very fun. Very, very fun. Very, very, very fun. Extremely, absolutely fun. My favorite perks are Hunter's Discipline, because you can recover twice as many arrows. Eagle Eye, because you get the zoom in. Power Shot, because you can stagger. Quick Shot, because, you know, you're faster. Steady Hand, because the zoom in slows time. And Bullseye, because, you know, paralyzing. Fendel is very, very useful because his quest is short and he can be exploited. So you can just take the money back from him. Then you also have Ayla. If you finish the companion quest line, she can also be exploited. She goes up to expert, so you can get up to 75 with her. And then you have like extra training options like Angie. I think you can get up to 6 points with her if you just go train with her at her camp, which like isn't the easiest place in the world to find, but it's there. And another thing I love is that you can distract enemies with arrows. They'll go to the place where you shot the arrow to investigate, and then you can sneak up behind them and stab them in the back. Well, bow them in the back. Shoot them in the back. I don't know. Whenever I'm talking about a bow, shoot doesn't sound like the right word to use, although I know that it is, but it just doesn't sound right. So I always say bowed, arrowed. That doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense at all. But what does make sense is that Archery belongs in the S tier. There are some skills I miss from other Elder Scrolls games, like hand-to-hand. I feel like we need unarmed back, and I feel like it should be a unique combat skill. Some perks would be like something to do with speed, like punches are faster or superior dodging. Another perk could make your fists a percentage more powerful. We could also have something like Flurry of Fists, which could increase the chance of a chain attack when your enemy's health is low. Or we could have Knockout, which could give you a chance to paralyze when your enemy is winded during a power attack. I'm happy with the combination of Merchantile and Speechcraft in Skyrim. I think that makes sense. But I do miss Athletics and Acrobatics. You know, like running, jumping, swimming. I like that stamina governs running in Skyrim. I just wish that we had jumping. You know, the ability to jump higher. I want to jump higher in Skyrim, or I want levitation back. Because although the mountains are beautiful, they are super irritating to climb. And I have to climb them. So give me jumping or levitation. All right, what did y'all think? I'd love to hear what your favorite and least favorite skills in Skyrim are in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and if you liked the video, don't be afraid to subscribe. Bye, y'all.